Welcome to Buddha Magic TV and Multimedia podcast channel and the continuation of the Thai Ramakien, Thailand's version of Miki's Ramayana. The last episode was about some of the preamble of the events which came before the events recounted in the Ramakien story, which focus around a couple of the previous incarnations of Pratnarai, of Vishnu, for, of course, one of the main protagonists, Rama, Prince Rama, in the Thai Ramakien, is an incarnation, one of the 10 avatars, or 10 incarnations of Vishnu avatar. And so the last story was Hirantayak, Mon Pendin. Hirantayak rolled up the earth, and Vishnu, Pratnarai avatar, was born as an albino wild boar, and he ravaged him and brought the demon to justice, the Asura to justice, Hirantayak. And so that was actually one of the first incarnations of Vishnu. After these events, after Vishnu had been born as a wild boar and used his tusks and teeth to rip Hirantayak to shreds, he went back to his normal form as Vishnu avatar and travelled on the back of the great Naga, which is of course his vehicle, his chariot, and he went off riding through the great cosmic ocean, and he began to cast powerful spells as he rode, and as he did this, lotus flower arose right, opening its petals to receive the sunlight and the rays of the sun, and it was a golden lotus, and in the middle of the lotus there was a Kuman, so a Kumar, a young boy, in the middle of the lotus, and his body grew out of the middle of the lotus, and Pratnarai, Vishnu avatar, then took him up and cradled him in his arms and gave him to Praisuwan, Lord Shiva. And so he bestowed this miraculous being which had been born from his navel, from a golden lotus which grew out of his navel as he rode along, casting spells on the back of the Naga in the great celestial ocean. And he took this young boy who had been created from the golden lotus in his navel and gave it as a gift to Praisuwan, Shiva, Shiva Tep. When Lord Shiva, Praisuwan, received this young boy as a gift, he then ordered Prain, or as most people would know him, the god Indra, to build a great city, a celestial city, and to let this Kuman, this young boy, rule it, be its ruler. And so Prain then travelled down to the world of the humans and came across a Dabot, or a Dabasa, meaning a Rusi, a Rishi, hermit. And he meant 4 hermits. he met 4 hermits, 4 Rusi, who were sitting and practicing jhana, absorption, meditation, which is part of the main practice of the Rusi, one of the main practices in the forest. And they were practicing the jhanic meditations, absorptions, and practicing their austerities in the jungle, in the forest. In one deep place in the forest, which was called the Bhatawaravadi, the Davaravadi forest. And these Rusi recommended that Indra Prain should build this city in this area where they were practicing, and give it an auspicious name after the 4 Rusi hermits, and let a syllable of each of their 4 names become one syllable of the name of the city, and that it would then be a very auspiciously blessed city. And to use the name of the forest as well, of Davaravadi. And so this city received then the name of Krungsi Ayodhya Tavaravadi. Ayodhya Davaravadi, if it was the Vedic name in Thai, so we would call Krungsi Ayodhya Tavaravadi. And actually Ayodhya is taking one syllable of each of the names of these 4 Rusi and using them to make the 4-syllable name of the city Ayodhya also, which is received its name from the Rusi Siton, the 4 Rusi hermits who were practicing in the Himapan forest, in the Davaravadi forest. And so once Prain had finished constructing the city through the magical power of Nimitta, and he returned to inform Praisuan, Shiva Deva, Patsiva, on the top of Mount Kailash in his palace, that the job had been done. Praisuan then ordered the young Guman to go down and become the ruler of the city of Ayodhya, Gungsi Ayodhya Davaravadi. And he gave a name to this Guman, and he should take this name and use it as his name when he went down to become the king and ruler of Gungsi Ayodhya Davaravadi. And his name was Anomatan. And so from this point on, the young, miraculously born golden Guman boy was to be called Lord Anomatan, or Tao Anomatan. After this had been done, Prain, the god Indra, went off to find a suitable, what we would say, Prachaya, would find a consort for him, so a wife and consort. And the name of his female consort, who was brought to him, was called Nang Mani Geson. Mani actually means jewel. Geson is a Thai name for pollen, actually, a flower pollen. So it would mean flowered jewel. Nang Mani Geson was her name. And he, Prain, also conjured up a whole host of courtiers and servants and company to be his entourage and for him to rule. Pain also manifested all the population of the city and the commoners and the lords and ladies and all of the officials. And so it was a completely manifested city without one element missing, conjured into being through magical means of the god Indra. After this, some time passed, and Tau Anomatan, the Lord Anomatan, and his consort Nangmani Gesorn became proud parents and gave birth to a prince, a son, whose name was Tau Achaban, Lord Achaban, and he was the son of Tau Anomatan and Nangmani Gesorn. After this, Tau Anomatan stepped down from the throne and passed on the rulership to Tau Achaban, his son, who became the next ruler in the lineage of the hierarchy of his family lineage. Now this is the first king and first member of the family lineage of the royal family of Ayodhya, or the Rajawong Ayodhya, which of course began with Pratnarai, Vishnu avatar, fathering the Guman who became Tau Anomatan, Lord Anomatan, who then married Nangmani Gesorn and gave birth to Tau Achaban, and who then inherited the throne of Ayodhya. Now Tau Achaban is now instrumental because he then spawned a son who was called Tau Totsarot, or Dasarada in the Vedic version of Valmiki. Totsarot, Dasarata, who was, of course, the Chanaka. He was also a Lasi hermit and a king, and he was the king who fathered Lord Rama, Prince Rama, and so, which was the avatar and birth of Vishnu, who actually began this lineage by creating Tau Anomatan out of his navel, but also was born later as the fourth descendant of his own self-created miraculous son, Tau Anomatan. And so, yeah, there is definitely a cyclic movement of incarnations happening within this. And Prince Rama actually, Vishnu Narai actually in the Ramakien, when he is born from Tau Totsarot, he is not the only son born. There are 4 sons, and Vishnu actually manifests through all of the 4 brothers, the 4 sons of Tau Totsarot. They have different mothers, but the same father, the same king, King Totsarot as father. And from there I will, the next time, tell one more story, and actually 2 more stories, and then I should be going into the true family tree, which will be published on YouTube as a explanatory slideshow with laser pointer and narrative to explain the family trees of the Vanora, the Asura or Yaksa, and the humans. So the Yaksa are of Lanka, of course, and the humans are of Ayodhya. And so this was story of Tau Anomatan, and explained the beginning of the father lineage of the human beings who live in Ayodhya, and so that is the faction of Prince Rama. The Asura will be the faction of Totsagan, and the Vanora will be the faction, of course, led by Hanuman. And so each of these three families have a protagonist who is greater than the other protagonists, or more important, or appears more often throughout the story, and that is Prince Rama, Totsagan, and Hanuman, representing each of the three families. And so, when I get down to those family trees, I will go into detail of all of Prince Rama's brothers, and of their different qualities and aspects, their mothers, and a diagram of the whole family tree will be visible with laser pointers. And I will go through each family, probably as a separate podcast or a separate YouTube publication for each different family lineage, family tree. And so this was quite an important story because it shows where the family lineage and the ancestors of Prince Rama in the Ramakien came from, and of Vishnu Avatar's protagonistic role, very important central core role, which actually transcends lifetimes and spans the whole story and beyond, from long before and also far beyond after the story of the Ramakien. And so this is the end of this particular podcast. The next story will be a very short story, which will be about the birth of Lord Latsatien, which will explain further about the family lineages, and that will be connected in one podcast with another story which is related, which will be called Asura Pak, Korpom Praisuwan, Asura Paktra, demon-faced Yaksa, asks for the blessing of a gift of certain powers from Shiva. And so the next story will be the birth of Lord Latsatien, how he came to be, who was one of the ancestors of one of the family lineages, just as have I explained in this podcast with Tau Anomatan and Tau Ajarn. So very important foundation of knowledge for Thai Ramakien. And that will connect with the story of Asura Paktra asking for blessings from Praisuwan. So I hope you enjoyed this story, which is still, of course, very academic, to build a foundation of knowledge before the actual Ramakien story begins, in truth, as a real story without analytical narratives. And I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to publishing the next story for you on Buddha Magic. Ajarn Spencer for Buddha Magic TV, Multimedia and Publications, signing off.